Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the December 13th, Wednesday Istio work group meeting. Do we still have one next week, or is this going to be our last one for the year?
That would have been a good agenda item.
Yes, I just brought it out of the blue. I probably should have had it on there.
Personally, I'm out of office, but I don't know about everybody else.
Anybody want to give like either a thumbs up emoji or some indication if you're available to meet next week and interested in meeting next week? All right, I am not seeing any emojis. I think that means we're canceled next week, as well as then the week after, presumably.
Yes.
Yeah. Until the new
So
year.
should we meet on the Wednesday in January? Do we have enough people back? Hopefully.
The first Wednesday of the third?
Yeah, that's the
That's
first
a little
day of
tricky.
my return, which is why I'm asking. I would not have any updates.
Yeah, I'll be back in January as well. Even if it's a skeleton crew on that first week, I think it'll be good to keep some things moving along.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
So we'll skip the 20th, 27, meet back on January the 3rd. All right. Cool. Second set of agenda is 121 release timeline. So I put this together here based on what we've done in the previous year. And that marks today as a kickoff. And then the branch cut and feature freeze on January the 15th was built ready on the 19th and further release by February the 12th. So one question I have is, since I'm out for the last month or so, where are we on the ambient mesh beta for 121 thing? Do we need more time? Are we going to make it for 121?
Yeah,
We
so
have just- Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, I can give a quick update. So we've been kind of working through, what can we do to drive ambient to beta? And I think everybody realized we can't drive the entirety of ambient for single cluster to beta. So now we are marching towards a narrow scoped ambient for beta, just for the layer 4 layer, and continue claim alpha for layer 7. I do think January 15 would be too tight. I would asking us maybe consider delay the release a little bit, given KubeCon Europe is March. It would be nice if we can have some type of beta of ambient before KubeCon that's the biggest conference, right, for the Istio project.
So actually, when is KubeCon Europe? March when?
19.
It's the third week. Yeah, March 19th.
Okay, so we actually have quite a bit of time. That's a
Yeah.
month after the current February 12th that I scheduled for the release. So how much time do you think we'll need?
If we delayed
obviously
by
we wouldn't want to
3
push-
weeks, if we push this whole schedule back by 3 weeks, that would put the new release date at March 5th, 2 weeks before the beginning of KubeCon, which gives us also some time to have some unexpected challenges around the release and still be out in time for KubeCon. I know we never have unexpected challenges, but just hypothetically, they might happen one day.
Yeah,
We
I'm
always
actually
do.
probably good with the 3 weeks, and I was going to suggest probably at least a week, only for the Envoy release, because it's the beginning of their year as well, and they typically try to get a release out. They always say by the 15th day of the quarter, but I think the January one is usually a little late. So us delaying for a week for that would be beneficial as well. So 3 weeks sounds even better.
Did they say there was a page? Oh, maybe, yeah, that's that one, I think.
Once again, maybe we should bike shed again on 2 releases a year instead of 3. Oh, instead of 4.
You mean 3 releases versus 4?
No, to have fewer releases a year, basically. Instead of 4, to have fewer releases more, needs fewer arrows, basically. We discuss it every time. I know that it's not going to be approved. Just raise it again.
We always say, right, the doc for it. Which
Austin,
if somebody would,
thank you for keeping up our traditions.
Okay, so they are Envoy 129 is projected for January the 16th, which means, yeah, we need to push this back anyway. There's no way that we're going to get to feature freeze branch cut by the 15th if Envoy is coming out the 16th. Okay, so 3 weeks.
Wait, why? Whoa, we normally do that. 3 weeks after the Envoy release to our release, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. I was thinking, sorry, I mixed up. I was thinking about the feature freeze and branch cut. Okay, but in any case, for 121 ambient beta release, how much time do we need? I heard 3, I heard 1.
What's 3 and 1? Are those weeks, months, years?
Weeks.
It's to figure out the scope, maybe. Wait, to figure out the scope or to execute it? There's absolutely no way that we're executing beta in 3 weeks. That's crazy, right? No one. Or is that
Unless the scope is reduced to 2, so it can be.
I mean, we can ship a pod that sleeps and call it beta if we want. We could do that in 3 weeks. But given the holidays and the outstanding work done, there's not really much.
I think, John, the comment was is if we slide the feature or the branch cut out 3 weeks, would that help?
Oh no, I don't think so.
So even for just layer 4, John, you don't think we have a chance for a March delivery?
March, that would be more than 3 weeks. No.
Right. So we're talking about March here, right? Coupon, I think Mitch mentioned March 19, right? So I would envision a decard date maybe at the end of February or maybe, yeah, somewhere along the line, given we're losing 2 weeks of the holiday, right?
For you, I don't like it to come in.
Yeah, if we need to do marketing at KubeCon, we can always say like we're pleased to announce that ambient is beta in 1.22, which is coming out in 3 months, and just make the the last part trailing sentence. Let's not compromise on engineering for marketing. We can find plenty of ways to hype up ambient and Istio in general at KubeCon.
So how about this? I think, John, we've got some definition around what beta looks like for ambient. The question between you and Lynn is whether it's achievable if we extend our release timeline out by 3 weeks. So whether we could have that feature or beta achieved in the main branch on, what does that make it? Like the early February.
Yeah.
If we make it, then we declare beta. And if we don't make it, we don't declare beta.
I think we actually have an official policy that our releases are a train, and if you miss the train, you pick up the next one.
Exactly.
So I'm very much against delaying it for ambient, in part just because I would say the same for almost everything, but also because I think we'll just be indefinitely delaying it. Not that I think ambient will take forever, but our luck will be that if we delay for it, then it will take forever. Or we'll be forced to ship it when we shouldn't, and it will come back to bite us.
Yeah, I would envision this as time delay, frankly, even if it weren't for ambient. I think releasing in early March rather than mid-February is ideal for KubeCon. It gives us the ability to get as many features in as possible, whether they're ambient or otherwise. I think it's best. At this point, I don't feel like we have a meaningful release that we could cut a branch for on January 15th. Do you? Yeah.
No,
Not
we
for ambient,
don't.
but for Istio in general, I think 1.21 is actually the best release in years we've had.
Why
Oh,
is
okay.
that?
Oh, we have all sorts of stuff. We have a massive performance improvement in the control plane coming as long as Envoy stops being annoying about it. We have this whole compatibility versions, the external name fixes, verifying TLS certificates by default. There's all sorts of great stuff coming. I think the Helm profiles.
Okay, cool.
Actually, it wasn't. We had that much stuff staged that was not included in 120. So that's cool.
We finally got rid of all the Envoy filters for telemetry for good.
Oh yeah.
So what's the consensus? We stick to this schedule, release on February the 12th.
Well, can we have more discussion about this? Because I want to make sure other people are comfortable too.
If we're going to have a discussion, since we're not going to have any meetings for the next 2 weeks, then we should, like, it should happen today or in the next couple of days.
Yeah, so because I know there's a lot of people on the ambient meeting, maybe we should ask there and circle back because there's only limited people here. Just want to make sure have more people eyes on it.
Well, I'm virtually looking at the TOC members on this call.
I mean, I've given my answer. It's probably not going to change. So
So I
don't
think,
mean that
John,
to
your
say it's the
preference.
final answer, but I will not change my answer. So if we do, we'll have to go around me, which is perfectly fine.
No. Your preference is early February. I continue as the delivery date. Did I hear that correct?
Yes, every release as planned. We could plan out the next eight releases if we want, and I'll say we should stick to those. It's not about ambient; it's about our release cadence and schedule. It's very important that we are consistent, I think.
And that can, the importance there is for users to understand what to expect. Is that what you're saying?
That's among the reasons, yes, but there's more. I think it's a bad idea, engineering standpoint, to push out things to ambiguous dates. It's one thing to say, like, we know something is happening on 3 days from now, like a Go version's coming out or something that we want to pick up. It's a different thing to say, this ambient beta thing, which we don't really know what beta means, and we don't really know what it's going to take to get there, and we've been working towards for a long time. Like, let's delay till we hit that. That's not a good practice for a release.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's proposing an open-ended delay because you're right, that could be very dangerous. We've had that in the past. I think 1.1 took about a year to ship because it had an open-ended delay in terms of feature completeness. For my part, it makes sense to time our releases relative to KubeCon in order that we can advertise the latest and greatest and have it be ready. Yeah, and Kuop mentioned that Istio 1.1 with all those delays had no production users. We have those now. That was so. To your point, though, John, if we did delay it by 3 weeks, that we're effectively stealing 3 weeks from 122, right?
Yep.
Which is what we did for 118, right? 118 got delayed by about a month in order to include the ambient alpha, and that stole time from the 119 release cycle. 119 was back on track. Did we hear from users that delay until May caused hardship?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but alpha has no standards, so it was just about completing a known set of work. Beta is much more difficult. It's about stabilizing things. And
yeah, and
very
to your
substantial
point,
reason to believe we're not going to stabilize things in a bounded amount of time.
I totally understand that. I think that if ambient beta is not achievable with this extra 3 weeks, then it misses the release, right?
Wow. I have about 95% confidence it won't. So it seems like a waste of effort to push the release back. It just will cause churn for everyone and very little payoff. And we don't need it to be in the release to say it's beta for KubeCon. If we declare that it's beta in the master branch, it's perfectly fine to go start shouting from the rooftops at KubeCon. It's not like people at KubeCon are rolling out in production anyways. Like,
Wait, did you say you feel comfortable to declare beta in our master branch?
no, I'm saying that the
KubeCon in 2
release
weeks?
timeline and marketing should not in any way ever be in the same discussion, in my opinion. If by the time we get to KubeCon, we declare that master branch is at a beta quality, we can go start saying at KubeCon, hey, look, we're beta quality. Like, we're going to have a release out soon that has the official beta. We can cut a 1.22 pre-release build that has it, that we say this is going to be beta. It's fine. No one's going in once we say it's beta at KubeCon, like that night in the hotel room rolling out to production. Like that's crazy, right? It's still going to take them weeks or months anyways. So we don't need to couple marketing with engineering.
Well, there's
Okay,
a
we've
lot
got a
of
lot of
hands.
hands.
Yeah, I want to hear from other people's opinion.
Keith, I think you're up at the top of the stack.
Sure. I'll pop the stack. So I agree with John that we should definitely try to decouple release timeline as well as marketing. I think both are important and have their place in a project, but we should keep them separate. I joined the call a little bit late, so apologies that seems like most folks are aware of this, but just for my clarification and my understanding, can somebody kind of please restate what the 3 weeks we're proposing we're going to be adding to? Like, what 3-week time period are we talking about?
So basically,
I guess
right now
I'll
the
take that since
release.
nobody else. Or
Yeah.
Lynn, do you want to?
Okay, I can quickly summarize. So basically, right now, the release date for 121 is early March. We were hoping maybe delay the release for a couple of weeks to maybe early March instead of early February, so that we gain a few weeks development and have a potential to declare ambient beta for layer 4.
Okay, so the 3 weeks we're talking about is shifting the 121 release date from I see it now, from February 12th to around March 4th.
Yep.
That, I mean, 3 weeks is significant, but I think that looking at our ambient to beta doc, even for a reduced L4 scope, there are still so many questions. And as we've kind of discussed a couple of times in the ambient meeting, stabilizing L4 is going to require us to at least design a good bit of L7. If no other reason than that, I don't know if that 3 weeks is going to be enough for us to get it to make the release, to make the new day, even with that 3 weeks.
Eric, do you want to share your thoughts? And then Carsten?
Sure. You want to go first, Carsten, and then I can do mine?
Go first.
All right. So I guess, I tend to agree with John in that I think, the idea of separating marketing and our normal process is good. I don't have an issue with saying, we ship 121. I still want to ship. I would still like to slide all of our releases back 1 week just to give Envoy a little bit of room. I know we don't necessarily need to have the Envoy release before we do the branch cut, but that's sort of my preference. So that's a separate discussion. So slide it back a week. But no, I tend to agree with John. I don't think that, and I guess Keith as well now. I don't necessarily think we're going to get something into the 1.21 release that we're going to be able to, announce, as the 121 release has got something. But I do believe that we can probably get something, with the 3 weeks plus another maybe 4 weeks by the time we get to KubeCon, and say that, something in the master branch is good. And then we can do something like we did in the past, which is build an alpha of that. So we could have a 121 alpha if somebody really wanted to use that, either, announced at KubeCon or shortly after KubeCon, that would have something in it. So we can still make announcements at KubeCon. It doesn't really impact the 1.21 release that much because we're not waiting and potentially shipping something that we really don't get enough time to test. So I would sort of agree with John. I'm sort of indifferent to if we want to slide things back too much, but I think in reality we're not going to get something in 1.21, but we leave ourselves open for doing a 1.22 alpha with the stuff in it that we can announce at KubeCon, if that makes sense. And I guess Costin, go ahead.
Yeah, I also agree 99% with what John said and everyone else. My take is that remember, we have this 3 month schedule because in 0.8, 0.9 we slipped and we wanted to show we have discipline and we can ship it on time. But it's an arbitrary number. I would prefer to have, kind of trains like we said, but with a larger interval between releases because we are still having every minor release risky. We still have, all kind of small changes like external name or verified certificate by default, which may put some customers at risk, and vendors that support Istio may be, every time we have a minor release, there is a bit of pain for the users, and it is a very short interval to have 3 months only between releases. That's why I would have preferred to have delays, because that will get us into the habit of not of breaking the 3 month cadence and having a longer cadence. Regarding ambient, I think if I'm reading correctly what we are talking about with using the gateway model and the proposals, the L7 part of ambient is actually pretty good shape because it's probably already implemented. I mean, it's kind of moving to the direction of just reusing what we already have. So if we can get the parent attachment to authorization in 121, that would be probably halfway through. I mean, we could declare that part as being better.
Sorry, you meant the L4 or the L7?
No, L7. The L7 part, it seems to be going to directions that hey, just use gateways, perhaps without any redirection, as in John's proposal. And that's something that is already, GA, not even beta. I mean, that part, the only missing part is changing the authorization policies to have parent ref to gateway, which again, it's relatively new, but it's not controversial. And that will allow us to at least declare the L7 part of ambient to be beta or GA, whatever you want to call it, because it's really the same things that we ship in regular.
That sounds like a significant change in what from what Lynn was discussing. Because Lynn, earlier you were saying that for ambient beta, we're going to go with L4 first.
Yeah, because the layer 7, the design is still in flight. I'm not aware of any updates or changes for layer 4, right? The authorization policy for layer 4, there's no contention, right? I think we are getting close to narrow down layer 7 authorization policy as well. I think you already implemented target ref too.
Target ref is yes. For waypoint is complete, yes.
Okay, so time out. I'm gonna leverage my PM superpower here. If we're having this conversation now in the scope for the scope of ambient beta, that just tells me there's no way that even if we extend it by 3 weeks, there's no way that we're gonna declare beta 121. So then the only question, the remaining is, I'm virtually looking at Eric. Do we need that additional week for the Envoy to wait for the Envoy release?
Do we? Not necessarily.
Would it make you feel better or sleep easier at night if we push out by a week?
It makes me feel better, but we have done the branch cut and then moved to the Envoy release after that. My only concern becomes, my concern from this is we picked the 15th or thereabouts because they were supposed to have their release out on the 1st of the month. They slid theirs back basically.
Well, we know for sure they're not going to have it out the first of the month because they're scheduled for the 16th.
Right. So they slid their schedule back 15 days to make theirs the 15th because they didn't like to have January 1st. I think. Mm-hmm. At least that's sort of my take. So they slid it to January 15th, and we never really slid ours back. Now they've done pretty good at keeping to the 15th date. So, to me, sliding a week would sort of be, something I'd like to do, but I mean, it's not necessarily a hard limit. It only becomes a limit if they slide their 15th too far, right? Because we really should be building on their envoy, on the real envoy, probably at the beginning of our testing. So that's the week after, right? Is when your other page had, we have a build ready on the 19th.
Build ready basically
Testing
later
the next
that week.
week.
If we slip 15 to the 22nd, then build ready would be on the 26th.
Right. And so then I feel really pretty confident we would have a build ready for test based on the real Envoy branch and not off of something running on their master branch. And I only say that because we've cut our testing from 3 weeks to 2 weeks.
So that convinced me we should push out for a week just to give ourselves a little bit more buffer. Excuse me, a little bit more buffer.
I mean,
and then we're still more or less.
I say this every release, and if people feel that we need to get it out the week earlier, I mean, I'm fine with that too. I'm just trying to make the life a little bit easier on release managers and trying to get stuff changed.
So any strong objections to this? Okay. Then I will update the schedule and pop up the wiki page, and let's call that the 121 timeline. All right, so that's that topic. I have one more. So this is just the PSA. The internally within Google, we figure out how this cloud credit thing is going to work. It has to do with finance and everything. So long story short, coming January the 2nd, the CNCF billing account instead of the Google billing account, but the CNCF billing account will be funded with enough credit to run the Istio build and test infrastructure so we can finally start the migration. So this is mainly a message for John and Stuart, who's now here, that we can start working on the migration coming the new year. And if everything goes according to plan, then nobody should notice any changes. John?
Is that like if you are bored, you feel free to start it, but there's no rush, or like hey, we should really go do it as soon as possible?
I think we should start earnest because we've been blocked by this thing for a while. And I mean, we've graduated now, what, 6 months at least? We should get our build infrastructure onto the CNCF building.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, that's all I have. Next one is on Mike.
Hey, yeah, so I don't think that there's any action needed for this one. But it was basically a question of, is there any interest or maintainer capacity to sign up as a project for this cloud native security event? I saw that there was an issue opened that was a really awkward back and forth, and it seems like the author was kind of speaking to the wrong audience. I linked to a Kubernetes dev listserv post that had made it sound more interesting as a potential path for helping to support new contributors interested in doing security focused work. So yeah, and the event is this Friday, so it's probably too late to coordinate anything, but I guess just trying to gauge interest for potentially a next time that something like this comes around. Is this the sort of thing that folks would be interested in supporting?
Keith, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I have some thoughts on this. So I looked at I was aware of the original issue when it was opened, and I think I agree with Mike, with your kind of summary of it, that it was communicated awkwardly, addressed to the wrong audience. I I also worry that events like this, the security center specifically, don't, how should I word this? I feel like it's a set of new contributors. It'll be a set of new contributors that wouldn't necessarily be the best fit for the needs of the project. And here's what I mean by that. I think a lot of the security work that Istio needs is like control plane, data plane work, guts of the project. The security slam is really, from what I could tell, is really aimed more around like low-hanging fruit, adding S-bombs, kind of supply chain security type of things, which one Istio already does like 90 or 95% of the things in the security slam. Maybe we could talk about how we can make that more discoverable, but but you know, we already have a lot of that done. And two, I think that because of the complexity of the projects, we're not just shipping out one binary, one container. We've got like 2 data path binaries. We've got the control. We've got Istio CNI. We've got all these various things that require time and investment from maintainers to help these new contributors learn how to do it. Now, that being said, I'm not saying we shouldn't be training new contributors on all the various intricacies here. I think we absolutely should. But I think that we can, if we focus and make that a priority for the project, and I'm absolutely advocating that we should do that, I think we can do a better job at upskilling those people and then turning them into longer term, stickier contributors than something like the security slam would allow them to be able to do, or incentivize them to be able to do. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Curious about what others think.
Yeah, we need to start with what things we actually want, not we want contributors to security. The issue was really lame. It was like everyone says they want S-bombs, and it's like, well, we have S-bombs, so what does that mean? In general, like I really don't want to say, hey, we want a bunch of people to come and help security. We want to say, here's the things we actually want to solve, and then go find people to do them. And those people are probably not new contributors that are going to be around for a week. It's probably people that are going to maintain it and whatnot. So.
Cool. That makes sense. Yeah, I guess I'd love to. We can do this async, doesn't have to happen now, but like if folks have ideas about what more we can do to enable new contributors, I mean, maybe it's like just some of the steps of like identifying those specific issues that we think new contributors could help with. I'd love to be part of that work.
This is reminding me of another question that I've had for a little bit, but just never thought to ask. Has Istio ever had like a Contribex working group of some sort? And if not, has there been interest in starting one?
No, I don't think we've ever had one like that.
Is this basically what was pitched a couple weeks ago that we have a doc out on? The contributor,
Office
sort of
hour
that-
thing?
yeah, sort of the open house. I don't want to say open house, but the office hours.
Mike, you were about to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think that would be one potential tool that would fall under an initiative like this, in terms of like a way that the project is making an effort to support new contributors. That is, yeah, I guess like one instance or implementation of it. I think there also could be other things as part of an effort like that, if that's something that folks are interested in investing in.
Exactly. So, there's like the CNCF has like a tag contributor experience, Kubernetes has a SIG, Contribex, where, and I think there's been at least some level of success in that as a strategy for projects who are needing to be able to onboard and monitor the pipeline of new contributors, and the growth of their new contributors in the project. It feels from my perspective like this is something that Istio as a project's not especially focused on. Mostly because a lot of the longtime contributors are coming from vendor companies. But I do think as widely used as Istio is, I think there's a lot of opportunity to convert some of these really talented and advanced experienced end users into contributors to the project, and that ultimately helps Istio. We already have spot PRs from people who are who come from end user companies. We have some people who are very engaged in making issues. I think a Contribex initiative, if not a full working group, would be kind of tasked with answering questions like, what's the incentive? How can we create incentive to get people from these large end user companies or experienced end user companies into the project? How do we make sure that they are having a good experience once they get into the project? How can we label things for them to work on? How can we show them the path to maintainership? And how can we make sure that they're have their ideas and design docs circulated, teach them best practices, et cetera, and like making that a goal and a focus. I don't think this is something we're going to solve today, so I'll get off my soapbox a bit. But as kind of we head into the holiday season, I think it might be something good for folks, especially looking at some of the TOC and steering members, to kind of put in the back of all of our collective brains during the holidays, to maybe look at attacking this in the new year.
Yeah, I think this is probably a good direction. One thing I would like to suggest, which I think you probably agree with based on your last comment, is that we should focus not on getting a wide set of shallow maintainers, but on building up a small set of very strong maintainers. So things like the security slam, probably the wrong direction. Things like making Keith the world's renowned expert on Istio pilot, very good.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, I've definitely seen on other projects, like the people who are running it and maintaining it in production at end user companies are often incredibly talented folks that really have strong opinions and the capacity to contribute. And yeah, that seems like a promising direction to focus on in terms of trying to help support their contribution experience. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else have any other topics? Okay. If not, then I will see you folks in 15 to 20 minutes for ambient. Have a good day, folks.